All right. Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
Welcome to the show. Can you
thank you,
introduce
thank you.
yourself, your
Yes.
name, what you do, and what you like to do for adventure?
Okay. I am Daniel Brenneman, husband, father of three, empathetic marketer. I've been in the marketing world, came up through design, video, all that, and got into the marketing strategy space just about 6, 7 years ago. Fell in love with it, and man, it's gone all over the place from there. But for adventure, my whole life is just an adventure of sorts. But if we're talking outdoor adventures, I'm an outdoorsman, a hunter, fisher. I love four-wheeling, everything. I grew up in the country. If we're talking just general life adventures, I am a serial hobbyist. So if there's a hobby out there, I've tried it. I promise you. And I have dove deep. I have all the tools because when I try a hobby, I don't just halfway go. I'm all the way there.
Nice. I love how we know you're from the country because you said four-wheeling and not four-wheeling.
Oh yes, for sure. But my southern accent doesn't come out a ton when I talk about hunting, fishing,
Yeah.
four wheeling. There are
Mudding.
no G's. There are no G's there.
That's the real deal.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you are I feel like you kind of had a very winding path of how you realized you wanted to get into what you're actually doing now. Can you tell us more about that background and how it got you to deciding to do empathy marketing as an agency like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started off at, like I said, doing graphic design at an agency. We did a lot of work for Fortune 500 companies, Michaels, Lowe's, Sears, Kmart when they were a thing. That I'm dating myself there, but that's that's a whole different conversation. So it came up through the ranks doing production design, pre-press, doing graphic design, then into the senior designer ranks, and transitioned over to work at a large church down here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and did some graphic design there. But I realized that a lot of the strategic approach that I had taken at the agency wasn't really carried over to the church a whole lot. And so I brought a lot of that mindset to it, and had one instance in particular where I went into a meeting with someone who was notorious for, I won't say steamrolling creatives, but he was very convincing of creatives to do what he preferred to do. And so I went in to the meeting, told my creative director, hey, I'm going to go in. I'm really going to sell this thing, and we're going to come out and it's going to be with what we want. And he's like, okay, good job. Let me know how it doesn't go. Came out. I was like, hey, just so you know, he's doing exactly what we want. It was his idea. He thinks it's his idea. Don't tell him otherwise. And my creative director was like, cool. You're never doing design again. You're going to be a strategist. I was like, okay, I love that. What does that mean? He's like, you're going to be a fire starter. You're going to go around, help all our campuses, all our different partners to grow, to dial in their experience, all of that the good stuff there from a strategic standpoint. And so I was like, oh, crap. Okay, well, let's do that. And somewhere along the journey, my buddy and I, who came in as a copywriter at the same time as I came in as a designer, we were tasked with creating a great experience at our campuses, looking at some retention measures. And we didn't know how else to figure out what was going on other than mapping out everything that was happening. So we mapped out every touch point and assigned a customer journey value to it and said, hey, this is what's going on. How are people feeling at each stage? And we called it our empathy map because it helped people helped make people feel seen, known, and understood. And it just kind of stuck, and people wanted it and they used it and it was helpful. And a couple of years later, COVID hits. I'm on an email marketer on his digital marketing team. We look at each other and like, hey man, is this a thing? Is this something that we need to take a little further than just a singular map that we created? And we're like, let's do it. And so we formed the company back in 2022. And we've had several iterations, done courses and coaching and different things like that. But now we are working on creating an online education platform where we teach people the frameworks and stuff that we've developed and all the iterations that we've gone through, and share the struggles that we've experienced and in finding our messaging, positioning, and communicating empathetically. So that is where we're at. That's been the road. It's been winding, wonderful, not easy, but it's been honestly one of the most rewarding experiences.
Yeah. The term empathy map, I hadn't heard that before I ever talked to you. And I've learned a lot about empathy marketing over the years, because when I first started out I worked with a marketing strategist for my coaching business, and it was so bro marketing. And it was a woman too, which is kind of surprising to me now that I think about it. And I
I'm
was
the
just like,
opposite. I'm
yeah.
I'm
I was
like the
just like, I
soft
don't
side of
like
marketing
this.
and the bros buy.
Right. And I was just, I don't know, it didn't ever feel good to market
Yes.
that way, where there's a limited quantity, there's urgency, there's this, you're like shoving it down people's throats. You have to post about it every day. You have to DM people on Instagram and try to sell it to them. And it's like, actually, no,
No.
no, 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 no,
Don't do that,
no.
because that's terrible. No,
Yeah.
that's where a lot of the ideology came from. Is we were really kind of hitting this peak as Russell Brunson's stuff was taking off. And
Mm.
so ClickFunnels and all the ideology around that, honestly, I think Russell Brunson is probably a largely empathetic dude. Great guy, great heart. But the methodologies that he created were so easily latched onto by anyone and everyone
Mhm.
that it created this effect of, I'm going to manipulate my way into a sale. I'm going to convince people to do whatever I want them to do simply because I know how to do it now.
Yeah.
And so the sliminess of marketing was on the rise, as we are like fighting against it and saying, hey, that's not it. Reading Seth Godin, we're big Seth Godin apologists. And like, we're like, hey, that dude's got it. He understands marketing is the act of helping people become who they seek to become. Let's latch on to that idea. Let's push that one forward. And reading Joey Coleman's book, Never Lose a Customer Again, that was really what inspired the empathy map and the different stages that we used in that first iteration. But they're all driven around empathy and making people feel seen. And like, hey, that's the way to do marketing. Marketing is meant to serve. It's not meant to take.
Yeah.
And so that is so largely what really has driven a lot of what we do.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I really like this mission and the way that you guys have structured it, because like the idea of an empathy map and those stages and those terms is kind of similar to what traditional marketing, bro marketing teaches with the funnels and all of that. So it's like accessible and applicable and clear. And it's not just like, so you want to like empathize with them, maybe go on Reddit and see what people are saying so you can use their exact language. And it's like, that's a nice like little tactic to get some good like community verbiage in your copy, but that's not the whole picture. And it's kind of hard to strategize just around like people's feelings rather than like the state of being that they're at with buying, because you can see where they're at with buying in your like analytics software, but you can't see how they're feeling. So this is like a new dimension that I feel like a lot of people maybe haven't explored in a way that feels so explicit. They don't necessarily have like the vocabulary to talk about it, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That's very, very interesting. I hadn't thought about it from the vocabulary side. What I think what's interesting, and as you're talking about it, I just had this realization that like I'm not a naturally empathetic person. I can actually point back to one moment that really started my transformation towards empathy. I take all the Clifton's, strengths finders, personality tests, everything. Nothing in any of those has said I'm naturally empathetic. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I am very strategic. I'm very like driven. And so those are generally the things that pop up on these tests. And so the turning point for me was when I came into the strategist role. I went to all of our partners, and the charge was go help them. And I was like, cool. Do I have a title or like any power or authority? No, just go help them. Like, oh, this is going to be fun. And so I went and I sat down with all of them, told them what I could do, how I could help them, and crickets, 21 partners, nothing. And I was like, okay, let's try this again. And so I picked one person from each team, sat them down and asked them their story. I said, hey, just tell me your story. I just want to know where you came from, who you are, what makes you tick. And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, started getting the requests in. And I was like, oh, when you care about people and like see them at a deeper cellular level, oh, they want to, this is cool. And so for me, to bring it back around to the language point, looking at it from someone who is not naturally empathetic, I had to create frameworks and methodologies, because otherwise I wasn't going to grasp it and apply it. Because I would find myself being like, I know I need to be empathetic, but my natural proclivity is taking me over here.
Yeah, you're
And
just like, I just want to come up with solutions. I don't just want to
yes,
like sit here and stew in things.
absolutely. And so coming up with frameworks that allow me to be empathetic, but leverage that problem solving piece of me, it was really where a lot of that came from. So the language and the methodologies are actually came forth out of that experience.
Yeah, that's so useful. I feel like especially to also pass that information on to other people too. But
Yep.
I loved what you said about like getting to know people. Like people want to work with people when they feel seen, when they feel heard, when they're treated like a real human being. When you're empathetic towards someone, they're more likely to work with you. And this is one of the reasons why I teach getting clients the way that I do is like when you go on LinkedIn, if you treat people on LinkedIn like they're real human beings. Like you and I met on LinkedIn. We
Yes.
treated each other like real human beings.
Yes.
We had a coffee chat. We're like, yo, dude, I like what you have to say. Let's talk about it. That is like, I'd refer you any day. You'd refer me any day because
Sure.
we've treated each other like we're human beings. And it really wasn't that hard. We talked for like 20 minutes
I know.
on a video call. And I'm like,
And
Daniel's my
like,
bestie.
hey, exactly. I'm like, hey, when's the next call? How quickly can we get this going? I mean, we need to talk again.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, both of us were referred to each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we just randomly found each other. So it goes even beyond we're the ones like treating each other like humans connects us. It's treating each other like humans gets other people to connect you to other people who treat people like humans.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is where a lot of the magic has lied in my LinkedIn journey because there's so many people that have connected me with people like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. That idea of wanting people to speak your name in a room of opportunities, those are your real friends.
Yes.
And I feel like, you know, when you're networking, those are the people you want to connect with.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's such an important part of like building your business, building your personal brand. If you're going to be building a following of any kind, social media, email marketing, whatever, like be a real human, treat other people like real humans. You'll get so much further than like this scarcity bullying bro marketing tactics that we've seen before. Yeah,
exactly. Have you ever seen the TV show Bully Beatdown? I'm again dating myself. So this is on MTV, like way back in the day. And the way they do it is they would have these like small town bullies come in acting all big and bad and fight MMA fighters. And like these guys would just like beat down these bullies.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, how fun would it be just to watch a bully beat down on these bro marketers with empathy marketing?
Someone coming in and being like, you feel really lonely, don't you? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when you get roasted. Or do you remember, I think this was also on MTV or something, where they would like go into a school and they would have like an entire grade of kids come into the gymnasium and they would all stand in circles and like say their biggest fears and all their worst feelings. And then suddenly they had like all these friends they didn't know they had because they're actually like sharing their feelings. Do you remember that?
No,
I have no idea what show that was, but I loved that. I think actually, you know what? It was probably on like Canadian Nickelodeon or something. We used to get like Canadian teen channels where I lived because we lived on like the border in Maine. And I thought like the Canadian TV shows for teenagers, I'm just going to say, were like way better than the American ones. But
yeah, I feel like I missed out.
That's what it reminds me of.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So I want to know more about like, you sort of gave like an overview of how you got here, but I would love to hear more about the emotions you were experiencing during this. Like you left your steady job to do what you're doing now, right? So how did you decide to do that? How did that feel? And you did it with your friend. And I've tried working with my friends and I sometimes struggle with it. So I'd love to hear more about those aspects of that like big change.
Oh, absolutely. It is been a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, there have been no shortage of emotions at all. I think I've experienced every gamut of emotions like daily throughout this journey. And so when I first jumped, I was actually involved with like 5 or 6 different businesses, either like from a fractional CMO standpoint or just helping from a marketing standpoint on a more executional level as Tyler and I tried to build this thing. Mm-hmm. And so I jumped feeling pretty good, like, oh, I've got income, all this. Over the next 6 months, a lot of those fell off. And so it came down to empathy marketing, and then one other that I am currently in helping a buddy here locally build a lot of the things he's building. And so at that point, I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? How does this work? What is this? Like a lot of like deeply, I won't say depressive, but man, it was close.
Yeah. You're like scared. Yeah.
Very, very scared. And, hitting super high emotions when good things would happen. We'd see little spikes, little hints, drop back down when things would flop. And so just a roller coaster. And I hit this point where I was like, man, if I didn't feel like this was my calling, I would be done. I think I'd be done. And that's the way and reason that Tyler and I are able to work together the way we do, because we both feel like this is something that was given to us uniquely, that is not something that's common that people think about, but we both concepted this, together. And so there's something bigger to it beyond this is a good idea. It's something that we were uniquely given to bring into this world. And so beyond any of the pettiness that could occur, keeping that in the forefront has always helped us be mindful and to move forward in sync there. Also, we are complete opposites, which has made the perfect partnership as well. I'm a huge extrovert, big personality, and I'm just, I'm ready, fire, aim, and with everything I do. And he is very much the introvert, introspective, analytical mind. Hey, what if we didn't do that? What if we looked at it this way? What if we, mapped this out and just talked about it a little bit? I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably good. Probably a good idea, man.
This is the thinker.
Yeah. And so, and even I was telling someone this the other day, this is probably my favorite thing about Tyler, is that it's just impossible to argue with him, because it's gotten so much so impossible arguing that I already in my mind will make his argument to myself to make sure that I even have anything worth saying, because I know if I'm going to come to him, he's going to be like, oh man, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Can you tell me why, like, you feel that? Do you feel like I missed this or I missed that? Like, can you help me And I'm like, no, everything, it's just me. It's me. And so just that perfect dichotomy has really helped as well, because I've had other partnerships where we butt heads or we both are big vision people, and it's just hard to manage those types of partnerships because the vision diverges at some point, and that becomes tension. But with us, there's a singular vision, and the way we manage is beautiful.
That's nice. Yeah. It's helping your communication skills develop too. It's not just,
sure.
Yeah. That's so cool. I always think about, I don't know, I've been doing this alone for so long. I've thought a lot about, what if I did this with a partner? What would it look like to have a partnership in some kind of business endeavor? And I sort of tried to pursue it with an agency a while ago with one of my friends. And I just got into it and realized, like, I am scared, and I have the only reason I wanted to do it was because I could, like, make more money and potentially not have to write as much, because I could just do the part where you get the clients and then hand them off, because I'm really good at getting clients. And then I was like, I don't know if I even want to do that. Like, my heart just wasn't in it. And I interviewed my dad. I actually want to have him on my podcast. I got to ask him.
You definitely should. You definitely should. Come on, Dad.
Dads are good interviewees. But I interviewed him for an article I was writing, because he's also been an entrepreneur pretty much his whole adult life. And I asked him, like, he's had 4 different businesses. He was a landscaper when I was born, and then after that they started a construction company, and they were, like, restoring old houses in New England, and then they had a coffee shop for a while, and now they run a car repair shop and a used car dealership. And I was like, why is this one working? Like, you've had 5 businesses, they all failed before this. What makes this one work? And he was like, I'm not in it because I think I can make money off of this skill that I have. I'm in it because I love cars more than anything. Like, that's my hobby. My dad sees, like, the movie Cars?
Yes.
Like, I think that when my dad is driving down the street, he sees their personalities, like the cartoon cars on the street. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love it.
So I think, like, it really rings true here too. Like I don't think the agency would have worked for me the way that I was pursuing it before, because I was in it for the money. I wasn't in it
Yeah.
for a reason. It was just, I know I can do a good job at doing this thing, but you're going to fizzle out eventually, you know? But you have this mission that feels very unique, and it feels like your calling. You're very passionate about it. It changed the way that you think about people, the way that you think about marketing, the way you think about business. So it's worthwhile to pursue. You need that motivation, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I can actually like giving greater insight into that, because we really hit a point in even this missional business that we have where we're like, is this worth doing? Because we had gone from courses to group coaching, consulting and coaching, trying to just figure out our lane. How do we help people? But in the midst of trying to figure that out, what we found was we got away from the thing that we love. And so this is where the idea of the academy came from. We sat down back in January and said, hey, let's like have a conversation about what is the thing we want to build that we can sustain and in 5 or 10 years aren't going to be burned out from.
Yeah, like what's the right format? Not just, you can have a mission, you can have an idea, you know what you want to spread, but you could be doing, like you said, you can do one-on-one coaching, you can do consulting, you can do courses, you can do live courses, you can do so many different things. So how do you figure out what package to put it in? Because I really struggled with that too. Like I don't really anymore, but I really struggled with that for a couple of years. I think we talked about this, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I was like building a course for 2 years, and then I spent an entire year and a half trying to sell it. And just the whole time, it's just Camp Moxie. Shout out to Camp Moxie. Last cohort went off this year, and I had a hard time selling it. I didn't enjoy selling it. I don't enjoy the fact that like 25% of people who buy courses finish them. 75% do not. You can't force anyone to do anything, but I never want someone to spend like $1,200 on my products and then just like have it be sitting there. Like, I feel bad about that. I would rather you spend $33 and completely change your life with me than spend $1,200 and never do anything about it and feel shitty about yourself.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we've all been like, I've bought courses that I haven't fully utilized, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, I don't want to shame anybody for not finishing a course, but I don't want to be the person that sells a package. I don't want to sell the idea of freedom in a silver bullet package. I want to sell community and helpfulness and an increase in your income and joy and ease in your business because you have a system that makes it easier. Like, I want you to feel good about buying from me, and I want to feel good about selling with you, and I want to have a relationship with the people I'm selling to, not just like this blind, weird, like, you have 24 hours left to buy this course that's actually existed for the past 2 years and will exist forever. Like, I don't like that.
I hate that.
So then it's like, what do I do with this course? All these videos. And it took me life coach. I was like talking to a business focused life coach. And when I realized, oh my God, I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, I could just put all these videos I made for this course on YouTube and actually genuinely help some people get started. And then when they're struggling to continue, then they can come to me and we can like get this custom strategy session going and have all that fun that I sell now. And that feels so good and cool and exciting. And like having that realization was like shocking and mind-blowing to me. And I remember we talked about it. You were like, I have all these videos in the vault from all these different iterations we made. And I was like, what are you going to do with those, Daniel?
I guess they're content now.
It's like, let it out.
That is absolutely on the table. I talked to Tyler about it and he's like, oh yeah, that's brilliant. We're doing that for sure. So that is coming. The Empathy Marketing YouTube channel is going to be bolstered.
I would love content.
Absolutely. But that's exactly it though, is finding that thing that aligns with who you are. We really established we're mentors at heart, coaches, teachers. That's just what we love. It's the thing that we could do all day.
Yeah.
And so not leaning into that would be detrimental. And so we built what we call our brand personality quiz. And we did this probably a year ago or so ago, and just came up with the idea that each brand has a personality that helps them when they live in it to operate sustainably and really be excited about operating on the day-to-day. It helps them connect with people because it's the truest sense of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And our brand personality type was connected. And so if we're not connecting in that community sense and the helpful sense, like even through courses that we are helping walk through, like, then we're not really living true to who we are. And that's where the disconnect occurs and that burnout happens and that feeling of like, I don't love doing this comes from.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It kind of reminds me of, I've written a lot of like brand voice guides and style guides because I do copywriting. If I show up to an organization and they don't have a style guide or a brand voice guide, I'm like, okay, so you can either pay me this much money to make you one, or if you get a retainer from me, I'll just make it complimentary. And then they always end up buying the retainer because they like know the value.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so much easier to write good empathetic copy when you know who you're writing about, why they're doing what they're doing, and like the brand personality is huge. And there's so many different ways you can distill it. I always like having like 5 different ways it's distilled because you never know what's going to click. And everybody in the organization can use this document. And that like brand personality quiz is such a huge component of that like base of this brand kit essentially. And I just love making those. They're my favorite because it also helps you, if you're the one making it and you're not just like reading about it, you really get to know a client.
Oh, for sure. It's one of my favorite things. Actually, this is very nerdy of me, but I love making the actual like quizzes that help tell people what their thing is.
Ooh.
Because I'm not just, I hate taking quizzes and assessments that are so straightforward. I kind of know what you're getting at.
Same.
It's like a pet peeve of mine. And so
it's like too much foreshadow, like simple foreshadow in bad TV shows, you know?
Yes, that's the best analogy. So I like to put questions on there that I'm like, if I can figure out how you like to put on a dinner party, then I can surmise that you might like this thing or that thing. And so asking these random off the wall questions of like, if you're going to have a group activity, what would it be? Then I can tell you if you're probably going to want to connect more, if you're going to want to be more motivational, if you're going to want to be more adventurous or whatever. And so like, I could love just coming up with different things like that I'm going to backdoor all this and figure out exactly what the actual reality is without you having any idea what you're answering.
Yeah, that's so good. That's amazing. It keeps the mystery alive, like Oz behind the curtain.
Yes, that's it.
Is there a certain tool you use online to deliver, like make the quizzes that you can share them with people?
Yeah, so we use involve.me.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
Fantastic tool. I love how customizable the scoring and everything is, because you can score based on answer and then send to custom landing pages based on their results. And I haven't created a quiz that is linear enough to be like, you just get a score and that score is whatever. But when you create something like that, you can really get down into like the coding logic, and this is where I get real nerdy. I'm like, man, I would love to create something that just gets so super in depth that if it answered yes to this, then it doesn't score that, but it does score this, and it sends you to that.
So what I'm hearing is your retirement career is going to be studying to be a PhD candidate, because all you will do is studies and quizzing and coding.
Exactly. But it's gonna be like PhD candidate meets BuzzFeed.
Like all you do is make quizzes all day.
Something right in between those two things.
You're just like, hey, you want to put a banner out on my quiz site? Because all I want to do is make quizzes today.
Exactly.
It would work. I think you could do that.
So those words are my biggest problem in life. I think I could do that. I think I can figure that out.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Those are my, like, I have to be real careful when I start talking like that, because I know it's coming, and my wife starts rolling her eyes and she's like, oh boy, here we go.
This is why we have 50 hobbies. Yes. I literally saw a pair of roller skates on Facebook Marketplace, and they're like pink, and I knew they were nice. You know what I mean? They're like $85. So I went and looked them up. Turns out they're like a $350 roller skate, and they're specifically for skating outside. And all my friends here ride bikes. They're like mountain bikers, road bikers, and they're like, you should get into riding bikes. And I've ridden bikes like 12 times in my life, never been good at it. Bought a bike, hated it. Sold the bike. everybody's still riding bikes. And I'm like, what can I do on the rail trail outside while everyone else is riding their bikes? And then these skates just magically popped up on Facebook Marketplace. I'm always on there scrolling. It's like my social media. I'm like, I need a good deal.
Very real. That is very real.
I am just out there for deals.
Yes. Thank goodness someone else does that. I will be just searching on Facebook Marketplace. My wife's like, what are you looking for? I'm like,
nothing.
Just see what's there.
A 9-foot shark came up that you can hang on your wall the other day. Why wouldn't you want to see that?
Why wouldn't you want to start to imagine what that might look like on your wall that has nothing on it right now?
Exactly. The picture was so funny. It was like clearly in a basement and there's like a leather couch underneath it. And this person's wife, it was obviously his wife, was just like sitting on the couch, like scrolling on her phone. And she looked so annoyed in the photo. She's like, this man put a shark on our wall. You know what I mean?
So I have a great story to actually prove that annoyance from the wife. So my grandfather was a great hunter, just lived up in Pennsylvania and hunted everything, but would travel to hunt. When he passed away, he had these massive set of caribou antlers. And my mom, we're cleaning out the garage. Mom's like, what are we going to do with those? I'm like, well, you can't throw them away. Yeah. So obviously, if no one's going to take them, I'll take them. And we get home, my wife's like, what are you going to do with those? I was like, I mean, probably hang them up somewhere.
Hang them on a wall, like, duh.
Where? Because you're not hanging them up on any of my walls.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, my office? And she's like, absolutely not. And so one day she's just walking by, flippantly makes this comment. I mean, maybe if you put shiplap on that wall, like you could hang those up. She goes out of town that weekend. And I go to the store, get all the supplies to put shiplap on that wall, put the shiplap up and hang the antlers. And she comes home and her mouth just goes, what did you do? I was like, you said if I put shiplap up, I could hang the antlers. And she's like, oh, that's a choice. That was a decision.
Exactly how it goes.
So that exact scenario played out in my home.
That is so funny. I send these things to my partner and I'm like, what do you think would happen if we just like got a 9-foot shark? Like, I'm joking. But then he responds, this is the problem with our relationship. He's like, I mean, let's measure the living room wall. I was like, I was joking. I was kidding.
You can't say that because I will. Just don't say yes. I just need you to say no. I need you to say no. Be the reasonable one, please.
This is the problem with like the I can do anything mindset, because I just go and buy these roller skates because they're a good deal, and now I'm learning how to roller skate. And I have like 50 hobbies. I didn't really need another hobby. I like paused my gym membership so I can roller skate every day.
That is the best thing I've heard all day. This is exactly how it goes. So interestingly enough, one of my many hobbies, I got into pumpkin carving. Not pumpkin carving, pumpkin sculpting.
This is really niche.
And so, it's very niche. So they had a pumpkin sculpting competition they used to do here in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And so when I worked at the church, the group of us got together and would go down and compete. Long story short, we had a team that got second place one year. So we'd done pretty good stuff. And I just kind of wrapped my mind around the whole like idea of sculpting. But most of the sculpting I'd done was subtractive, obviously, with pumpkins. Mm-hmm. And so a few weeks ago, I just looked at my kids. I'm like, hey, y'all want to like sculpt something? And they're like, yeah. And so I put a couple of YouTube channels on, and they're like, yeah, let's do that. And so we just went to Hobby Lobby. My wife's like, where are you going? I'm like, we'll see you in a minute. She's like, what? And went to Hobby Lobby, got like 5 pounds of clay, and came back and all sculpted stuff. And
that's amazing.
Right here is like the Darth Vader bust. I sculpted out of clay.
That sounds like the best weekend.
It was fantastic. It was so much fun. It was the first time I like tried significant clay sculpting. I was like, this is a ton of fun. I love it.
This is like the best part of being someone who's like a lifelong learner is YouTube is your university. You can read any book and learn. So like I'm always reading books and learning new things, and it's just it's the most exciting part of life to me is learning. What are the best, like, what are your favorite ways to learn? You've mentioned a few books. You're using YouTube. Is there any like YouTube channels or books that you're like, anyone who wants to do empathy marketing should know these?
Oh, I mean,
I should
anything
have
Seth
told you
Godin.
ahead of time so you could
You should,
prepare.
I should prepared for this. I'll come off the cuff as much as I can. Books have been the biggest influencer right here. Never Lose a Customer Again. Joey Coleman, I've mentioned that one.
Oh yeah.
Seth Godin, This Is Marketing. Purple Cow, 2 hugely influential books for me. And then fourth one is Applied Empathy by Michael Ventura. Probably one of the most brilliant like experiential marketing books I've ever read. Absolutely, like check those out, consume those as much as you can.
Oh, yeah.
As far as like videos, YouTube channels, I dabble here and there. I listen to Alex Hormozy stuff, and I wouldn't necessarily consider it overly empathetic, but it's great handles to think through the lens of just understanding the processes and all that. But I would say the books have been the biggest thing for me.
Hell yeah. Do you listen to other podcasts?
So I don't listen to a ton of a breadth of podcasts, but I do listen. Like I go deep into certain podcasts.
I binge listen, and then when I run out of episodes, I'm like, okay, I'll come back in a year when there's like another year's worth of episodes to listen to. You do that too?
Okay, so yes, I do that. There is one podcast that I listen to like religiously, and that's The Basement with Tim Ross, and just fantastic. Like it's like therapy for my soul. Like I just brilliantly spoken, just always giving me new ways to process life. And so I listen to that all the time. And then I listen to Hormozy, The Game by Alex Hormozy. And then My First Million is one that I listen to here and there.
I love My First Million. It's
that
really
one's
interesting.
A lot of fun. I love listening to those guys, Sampar and Sean Puri.
Yeah.
And then one that I'm like starting to get into is Dan Martell. I can't remember what the name of his podcast was, but just brilliant mind there. And so all of this stuff generally sparks from things that Tyler sends me. He is like the biggest consumer of information I've ever met. And so like he just sends me something, hey, listen to this episode.
Nice.
Hey, you need to listen to this podcast. And so I just take my cues from him, and whatever he says, I just follow and I'm in on, and that's what I do.
I love having a curator in your life, you know?
Like, especially like because of how aligned we are, everything is not just curated, it's perfectly curated.
Yeah.
And he knows what I will listen to and what I won't. And so he won't even send me he'll just like distill the ones that I won't listen to for me.
Tell you about it.
And then he'll send me the ones that I will.
That's perfect. It sounds like you guys have such a good relationship.
Absolutely. And to synthesize, like perfectly synthesize what the level of consumption Tyler has. He once had a business called Learn Stash, where it was literally about curating all of these resources for what personal development thing you want him to learn about.
Nice.
So like that, personal curation is probably a light term for Tyler.
That's amazing. It's his superpower.
Yes, it really is. Like, it's no nice. Lie, it is.
You guys are going to have such a good, like, this academy is going to be so interesting because you'll have Tyler sort of like curating curriculum-y things, and you'll just be over here like the big talking head, like making sure everybody hears it, feels connected. You're like the people person. It's going to be a really good partnership.
Absolutely. And when you get down, and Tyler is a very good communicator in and of his own right as well. So it's like really nice the overlap there because he teaches so simply and concisely. And so I can just get in there and be bouncy and energetic and stuff. And he hits these like one-liners and leaves you just sitting there like, well, hold on. I'm going to have to think the rest of my life on what you just said in that one sentence.
And all the quizzes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. The dude is a quiz master.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So right now, I mean, we met through LinkedIn. And as you know, I already loved LinkedIn before I started doing content marketing on LinkedIn, but now I love LinkedIn even more. And I want to shout it from the rooftops every day. LinkedIn marketing and email marketing. That is all you need to build a really great following in the professional sphere. Obviously, this isn't going to work if you're like a lifestyle creator, but for what we're doing, where we're talking to like freelancers and solopreneurs and copywriters and graphic designers and these types of people who are building brands, essentially, LinkedIn's amazing. When did you get started on LinkedIn, and how did you go about like navigating how you decide to use it and what you share. Also, you share videos, so please tell me more about that, because I don't share a lot of videos and I've been thinking about it.
Oh, number one, you should. So we'll start there. So this is actually quite an interesting tale. Tyler and I had talked about starting up content and all this stuff, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm not much of a writer. I'm more in the design space, and so I've always been hesitant from a personal brand standpoint. And back in December of 2023, we were like, hey, let's just commit to this for a while and see what occurs. And so I committed and said, I'm going to do it every weekday. And so first month, I'm out there, I'm getting ahead of things. I am scheduling out posts, doing all this stuff. And then it's the typical starting out process. And one day I kind of had that cue end and I didn't know what to post. I'm like, well, I'm kind of tired of teaching. And so I just opened my phone and opened my Photos app. And I grabbed a photo and I'm like, there's a good story there. I think I can connect it to marketing. And so I told the story, posted the photo, and pulled a principle out. And people resonated with it. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Didn't know I had this ability. Let's try that again. So I pulled the photo, told the story, pulled the principle. I'm like, I think I found my new content creation method.
Nice. And so you're the storyteller type.
Absolutely. And so I realized that while I was at the church, because there's so much metaphor and analogy spoken into teach lessons, I had just like absorbed this ability. Yeah. And I talk very fluidly in stories and analogies. And so I'm like, oh, okay, let's do more of that. And so I did that for a while and had a coffee chat with someone. It's like, you need to do video. Like
you are like the personality for video.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, listen, I'm a graphic designer. I shoot video for people. Like behind the camera is great for me. I don't need to be in front. And they're like, yeah, shut up, do video. It's like, all right. So I had to set up everything that you see around me for our courses and everything that we shot there. And so I was like, I mean, I might as well just try some stuff. And so I started some storytelling. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try this and that, and started to become comfortable with it. And I was like, okay, I kind of see like this is something I could lean into, get into. And so sometimes I'll just set up my phone and just start talking. And because of the videographer background, all that, I'll just throw it into my editing software, chop it up, and voila, I got a video, throw some captions on it and good to go. And so it just really evolved through that. And then in talking to people, figuring out what resonated with them, what they liked, what they enjoyed from me. And realizing that I can't just tell stories all the time because I probably need to teach a little bit. And I want to connect differently. I don't want it just to be marketing driven. And so what I really settled on was like these anti-pillars. I don't know what to call them. One time someone asked, like, what are your pillars of content? And I said this, and they were like, those aren't pillars. I was like, I know, but they're awesome. And so what I kind of settled on is twice a week, I'm going to tell stories and pull principles out. Twice a week, I'm going to teach something that I am thinking on or putting in the academy just to test, see how people respond. And then once a week, I'm going to do something absolutely crazy and fun and try and connect with people completely outside of anything marketing. And so I've been doing that for the last month or two. And the connection ones have been just some of the most fun things I've done. I've gained more followers and like more conversations through those. And so like, it's just been a nice mix of like my sweet spot of teaching, of connecting, of having a lot of fun. And so that's really been how things have evolved into what you see now and what I get to do.
That's so cool. I love hearing that evolution because I feel like when we're starting out with these things, everyone I talk to, I'm like, you got to get on LinkedIn. You got to just use it. Even if all you do is send connection requests and you don't really post, you need it. You need to use it. Yeah. And people are like scared to post content because they don't know what to do. But even the people who look like they know what they're doing, like you, started out being like, what the am I doing on here? You know, like that winding path and the experimentation is how you find your way. And you're going to have some flops and you're going to have some successes. And that's how everything works. You have to be bad at everything to be good at anything, right?
And that's why like I was so cool with the content process, because as a hobbyist, I'm like, I know it's going to take me 15 reps to get good at something. It took me 4 pairs of custom shoes to get to where they look good. And it got me to a couple pieces of furniture to where I could build a nice looking piece of furniture. I'm like, so I know that content, like from the process standpoint, I know how long it takes me generally. I know my process. So I'm like, I'm cool with pushing through with this. Mm-hmm. Now it's just finding that alignment. It's what is the thing that I enjoy doing that I could do for a while and make more of that. And I think that's where people get hung up, is they get caught up in trying to produce Justin Welsh's content or Laura Acosta's content and trying to,
or producing for the audience instead of both for themselves and the audience. You need to have both, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that really is unique about the empathy marketing approach, is we always start with knowing yourself. Know your purpose, your values, your personality, understanding really those core things about you that make you tick. Because when you start to form your opinions of who you're targeting after that and who you're speaking to, it flows from a place of who you are, and there's congruency there.
Yeah, so, like a relationalness.
Absolutely. And so when there's that alignment, now the keeping in mind who you're creating for flows from you instead of flowing from this idea that you have. And so that's where I believe a lot of the burnout comes from people, because they create from an idea of their audience, not the actuality of their audience.
Yes, totally. That's such a good point. I've definitely experienced that too. I will say as well, I think that part of why you're of the mindset I can do anything, and part of why you're okay with that experimentation and figuring out what form your service is going to take and finding success on like building an audience on these platforms, like all of your willingness and persistence to do these things. When you talk about your hobbies and you're like, oh yeah, I figured out how to build a table. I made 4 pairs of custom shoes before they came out. For who makes custom shoes? This is so cool. What the fuck? But like all of these hobbies that you've been bad at and proven to yourself you can be good at, just because you want to see what happens, just because it felt good to try it, just because you were interested and you were passionate, showed you can do these things, and that translates to being a business person. And I feel like when it comes to business, we're so afraid of like embarrassing ourselves or not being official enough or not being professional, or like we have imposter syndrome. And you have to be bad before you can be good. And you have to just be okay with like not being the best, because you may never be the best. That's not the point, right?
Yes. So a couple thoughts on that. Number one, I think the most important thing that anyone that wants to accomplish anything in life has is curiosity. Yes. I think if you don't remain curious, you lose it all. At any given point, if your curiosity wanes, so goes the entropy sets in. And so I think remaining curious is top of the list, something everyone has to do or find. But number two, I think what you're saying is even more true today. And Tyler and I were just talking about this the other day, that B2B and B2C isn't as defined as it used to be.
No, I hate that everybody's like, it's one or the other. You can do both.
Yeah. Well, and not just you can do both, but they're almost becoming one, because with the rise of personal brand, the connection is now personal. You're not connecting with a faceless brand. You're connecting with the face of the brand. And so that is something that I think is just such a profound distinction that's being made now, is that B2B language is really B2C language, because everyone is building something in and of themselves alongside the entity.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't ever think about it that way. I've always done both B2B and B2C writing, and sometimes for the same companies. And I never understood why everyone's like, I'm in B2B SaaS. It's like, it's just SaaS. Like everybody uses software as a service now. It's not just something for enterprise. And there are some softwares that are specific for enterprise. You know what I mean? But like, this is the thing. Marketing is just changing so much, so rapidly. And the only way to keep up with it without feeling burnt out is to be curious about it and not be scared of the changes, right?
Yes, that's it. And the to remain a learner of the emotional side of things. I just wrote a post about this, that the IQ side of things are going to continually be compressed by AI and the rise of technology, that the hard skills that you're learning will eventually be overtaken. And so if you're always chasing the next trend, the next thing, the next tool, eventually you're going to have to just make that a way of life. But if you learn the soft skills side of it, the emotion side of it, you'll be able to last. You're going to be able to find longevity. And no matter where you find yourself in SaaS, B2B SaaS, enterprise, whatever it is, you're going to understand how to connect. And those are, I won't say future proof, but this is future proof as something gets.
Yeah, exactly. This sort of the best analogy, the best example I have for this, and some people are going to roll their eyes at me. I don't really care. Like, you can go away.
Bring it on.
Taylor Swift.
Send the smoke.
Taylor Swift, 100% best example of future-proofing yourself, right?
Yes.
She's always using the most current tools. She changes how she markets her albums every single time. Like, when she started out, she was vlogging on MySpace, okay? Yes. And now she's like using social media differently. She's like got filters on TikTok. She's promoting her stuff on Shorts and giving little Easter egg teasers, right? She's got her tour, but she like changes it every single night to keep it interesting. And she's got people on TikTok hooked and live streaming their tour, right? Like, you are so involved. You don't even have to go to this concert, and you could know every single thing that happened at that concert and hear every single song. And she's not out here being like, you need to pay for that, that's my copyright. She's being like, yes, please share it, because I know that the TikTok algorithm is going to push this to the people. She has people talking about her with their own theories on all these different platforms. It's not just TikTok, Reddit, like Twitter, everybody's in on it. Instagram, we're all in on it.
Okay, so I've actually written about this. I have a hot take on Taylor Swift. So we'll go down this rabbit hole for a second.
Yes.
I think that Taylor Swift's marketing isn't nearly as brilliant as everyone thinks it is.
Okay.
Here's why. Okay.
That's almost going to be offensive.
No, it's not. No. You're gonna like it. Because of the community that she built up front. Here's how I know. So I, in college, spent my senior year doing an internship with the Nashville Predators, which is the NHL hockey team there in Nashville. Went to school out in Nashville. And so every night or every day I'd do graphic design. At night, I'd work on the event staff. The event staff is down in the basement level all the time, walking through, going to the next mascot appearance, throwing T-shirts to the crowd, whatever. So the celebrities would come through there, go up to their box suites, spend their time, come back down and go through. So we'd see, all kinds of different personalities coming through. Taylor Swift walks through, and this is the like Teardrops on My Guitar, Tim McGraw era. And she walks through.
Middle school.
She walks through, and instead of going to the box, she walks up to the general elevator. And we're all like, hey, what's she doing? Like, does she know where she's going? We want to make sure that like she's not confused when she walks out and there's everyone there. Oh no, she knew exactly what she was doing. She went and sat in the ADL row, which is like where the handicap seats are in that main walkway on the upper and bottom half of the lower bowl. During every intermission, during every break in play, she would sign autographs and take pictures. So much so we had to reroute traffic. And so like she, from the beginning, built such a community that these crazy marketing ideas she has, these insights that she gives, are just a byproduct of what she built 15 years ago.
Yeah, and it doesnn't matter what tool. It just matters that her community's involved.
Exactly, because if you and I tried those marketing tactics, let's be very clear, they wouldn't work.
No.
No one would be caring about live streaming my clay modeling or my custom shoes. No one would care that I'm talking about the next thing that's upcoming. No one cares because I haven't built the thing that she built. But the community that she built, the way she connected emotionally, is the magic of what's allowing her to do these crazy marketing tactics. And so that was my whole hook flip.
I'm not offended anymore.
I don't think her marketing is brilliant because the real brilliance is what she built before. Now,
it's
don't
not
get me wrong,
the tools.
It's all the creativity is just brilliant. Everything they do is brilliant. But the effectiveness of it is not built on the back of the marketing. It's built on the core of what she built 15 years ago.
It's built on empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Empathy marketing.
I love that I brought it up then. It's so funny because when you were talking about curating, it just reminded me so much of my friend Katie. She is like the person who got me back into I was into Taylor Swift until I got to college and Red came out, and I hated Red. I didn't think it was a good album. The only good song on there is All Too Well, and all the girls in my school were so obsessed with it, and I was like the anti-girl. Like, I did not want to be like a girly girl. I wasn't trying to be I'm not trans in any way. I'm not non-binary. I just didn't want to be a girly girl, and I was sick of them screaming about One Direction and Taylor Swift. So I just like hopped off the bandwagon. And then last year I was like going through a breakup, and my friend Katie was like, you need to listen to Taylor Swift. And I was like, no. And she was like, yes. And she's curating all these songs for me, and I am just like bawling in my car listening to these songs, and I'm like, send me more. I need it. And then she starts sending me like it's like TikTok videos, then it's like lore, and now I'm like a full-blown Swiftie just going on TikTok every day for my dose of Taylor lore.
That's fantastic.
It's so good.
I love it so much. I agree though. Like, it's just there are so many different iterations that she's had, that the brilliance of even the iterations is mind-blowing, because she connects with so many people, different people on so many different levels at so many different stages and points in life. So you can walk away at one point, but come straight back because of this different era. And like, to me, that it's absolutely brilliant because of those connection points.
It's so incredible. So incredible. And at the end of the day, she's still doing the same things she always did, capitalizing random letters in her lyric booklets, dropping Easter eggs in her music videos. Like, those things will never fade. But all of these ways of communicating them and spreading them throughout her little ecosystem is what changes. But it's not about the tactics. It's about the community.
Although
that's so cool.
I will say, like, I won't say I go so far as to say this is a theory, but I will say, if I were her, this is exactly what I would do. Is I would be following those conspiracy theories that people, well, I think she's this, I think she's that. And I would just pull a couple of them and be like, those are good ideas, and bring them to life. Because what that would do is it would create this effect in every conspiracy theory mind of, I can be right. This person was right. And it would just propagate way more theories, way more ideas. And so I don't know if she does that, because I think it would be brilliant if she did. Taylor, if you're listening, you need to do that. Absolutely. But just as a method of keeping that going, I think you could do so much for so long just by making a few of these come true.
I've seen a few people on TikTok being like, my theory was right. And like it actually came true. So I wonder how much of it is completely pre-planned. Like, is she doing anything on the fly anymore? I can't tell, because people are literally pointing back to interviews she did 5 years ago and saying that's when Tortured Poets Department started getting marketed. And I'm looking at this thinking, this could be complete. Like, I believe it.
It could be right.
And we'll never know. The mystery.
It is. And that's the brilliance of it.
Keeps you coming back. The last thing I want to say is the way you delivered that story, and the way I saw that LinkedIn post come up, and I was offended by it, so I didn't even read the whole thing, and I just was like, whatever, Daniel. But now that you said it, I was like, oh my God, it was the hook. You did the controversial hook, you told the personal story, but it had a reason, and then you showed proof of the method and how it works and what it acts like. You put a name to it, and that's the magic of the way that you create posts on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do appreciate that.
Killing it.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Well, this was the most lively episode I think I've ever had. Yes. You are such a big personality.
I love it.
Thank you for bringing the energy at 3 p.m.
Hey, listen, no other way to do it.
So tell people where they can find you and your partner online, and tell us more about how we can get started with your Empathy Marketing Academy. And are you doing consulting? Tell us everything. Where can we find you?
Absolutely. So find my partner, me and my partner on LinkedIn, Daniel Brenneman for me, Tyler Spiegel for him. That's Speegle. And find us there. That's where all of our content's going right now. And then empathymarketing.co, the website, where you can find all the information about us, everything there. And our Empathy Marketing Academy has a wait list. So jump on that and you'll get all the updates and the information as that's coming. We're creating some cool framework packs that we're going to be dropping here at some point. It's from all the libraries of things that we've done and everything there. And always available for consulting and different things like that. We're much more selective with that at the moment as we build the academy. We don't want to take too much attention away from it, but we always want to be helpful. Always want to offer a helping hand if we can, and always enjoy meeting new people, having new relationships and new challenges that we can solve.
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I met you, Daniel. This was such a good episode.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
I'll see you around LinkedIn, I guess.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you.